In today's energy markets, let's take a look at WTI crude futures today as they're realizing a nice bounce. After 3 days of selling pressure, we are seeing them bouncing nicely today, up just under 3%, currently right around the 63.75 level. We did see them over 64 handle earlier in the session, but still holding on to the top end of the range for today's price action and stemming some of the selling pressure that they realized earlier in the week. Looking at, I think, some of the factors why we're seeing this bounce today, a couple of factors, I think, to point to. Number one, weather patterns in the Gulf. Indications now that there's a potential tropical storm, cyclone, hurricane. I guess we're outside of hurricane season at this moment, but nonetheless, there is some potential weather issues in the Gulf of Mexico. That's causing a little bit of concern as to how that might impact supply here from a short-term perspective. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing WTI bounce today. But also, I think when you look at the data points that came out over the last 24 hours, pretty strong, particularly in Europe, where we did see stronger data points in the Eurozone and in the UK. And I think now their indications are that they are starting to come out of this pandemic much quicker now, maybe even ahead of the US, because they have some catch up to do, but that's going to be the evolution of this. We're going to see these, I think, periods where you're going to see things coming back online fairly quickly as the cases begin to drop once again, and that does appear to be the case in the Eurozone and in the UK. We're seeing a very strong data points. So I think that's another psychological impact, if not also fundamental impact to why we're seeing WTI futures bouncing today. Now, when you look at today's rig count number, we did see an increase in rigs once again today. We saw the rig counts week over week for oil rigs increase, I believe, by 4. The net change was 2, but one gas rig offline and one, I guess, multi-purpose rig offline. But WTI or crude rigs continue to climb, and we did see a nice increase last week. We continue to see a further increase this week, and now we're seeing 356 rigs in the oil sector currently active, and that's quite an increase from where they were early at the beginning of the year. So we continue to see that trend unfolding, and I think that's another reason why maybe today we're seeing WTI futures catching a bid. Excuse me.